The best is yet to come, and our third session begins in just 2 minutes from now. Presiding over the third session is Mr. Ajay Jalani, Managing Director, Winner Group India. What do I say about Mr. Jalani? Man of few words, I guess. Mr. Jalani brings more than a decade of impactful experience from his tenure at CHEP USA. He's currently leading sustainability initiatives focused on circular economic packaging, specializing in reusable pallets and crates. Beyond the boardroom, he's a member of Zonal Railway Consultative Committee, ZRUCC. He also lends his insight to advisory panels at IIT Belapur and CPET. It's our privilege to welcome on board you, sir. Over to you, sir.
Good evening, all. Oh, still there is a... So good afternoon. So happy to be part of CII Institute of Logistics, and my special thank to CII team and Bhanumati madam. Where is she? This is the 19th edition, and I would request now, we have a eminent speaker, so I will read out and then I will request one by one. So we have Mr. Ajay Singh. He's the Chief Supply Chain Officer and Vice President of Hindustan Platinum. He has about 35 years of experience and worked with Universal Business School, Cyanide, L&T, Phenolics, Aquafarm Chemicals Private Limited and others. Expertise in heavy industry, automobile, telecom, specialty chemicals, engineering, precious metal. Please, sir. Our next eminent speaker, Ashu Gupta ji. She's a Vice President in Supply Chain Management of Koya Pharmaceutical Private Limited with over 37 years of experience. She has worked with various pharma companies like Lupin, Sandoz, Vocard, Mylan Pharmaceutical. Expertise in SCM strategies, procurement and planning, inventory management, inbound and outbound logistics, demand planning, and CFA 3PL operation. Welcome, madam. Our third eminent speaker is Shri Vikas Bhaskar. He is a seasoned supply chain and operational professional with 21 years of experience in manufacturing, procurement, inventory management, logistic and warehouse operation. Currently serves as Head Logistic at Birla Opus, a Grasim Limited Birla Pen division. He has a proven track record of optimizing processes, reducing cost, and enhancing product quality. Welcome, Vikas ji. Mr. Hitesh Sen brings over 15 years of rich experience in warehousing and supply chain operations and currently leads the West region of TCI Supply Chain Solution. A seasoned professional with deep-rooted expertise in warehouse operations, design, strategies, and implementation. Hitesh has been instrumental in shaping TCI supply chain, warehousing, and logistic excellence since his association began 15 years ago. Welcome, Hitesh ji. So, this is our last session, and the session is about, you have heard about technology, everything. This is about modern warehouses. But in that, human-centric approach. So that is we are going to discuss. But just to give you a backdrop, about 20 years ago, 2000, when I used to go to warehouse, small, we can call right now warehouses, but it was basically a godown. A big FMCG companies, when I used to go to those Bhiwandi, 10,000 square feet, 5,000 square feet, 15,000 square feet. And the way economy has grown up, so that go-down culture has transmitted into warehouse. Then warehouses came 40, 50,000 square feet. And after that now, we are from go-down warehouse to logistic park. Now one warehouse is around 4 lakh square feet, and the logistic park are 2 million square feet. Now a lot of 3PLs are sitting here, the big names here. So that transformation has taken place. So what Anshul has said of Welspun, that earlier godown was that Amitabh movie picture, I don't remember, Janjeer or Diwar. So those type of godowns are there, and now you will find excellent big warehouses. So we will be talking about the modern warehouses and our human-centric approach. Thank you. We'll start. So already I think you have heard about the modern warehouses and all the technology and adaptation has taken place, coboards and ASRS, all aspects are really good, but the whole discussion we are going to have this next 1 hour is about human-centric modern warehouses. So Vikasji, my first question to you is, ergonomic workstation design from your experience, what does human-centric design truly mean in the context of Indian warehouse? And why does it matter now more than ever?
So, so as you rightly said in the introduction that warehouses had evolved over a period of time from go down to warehouse to a distribution center to now a fulfillment center and now a dark store. So the more we are evolving, the main evolution reason is the expectation from the customers. And customer expectation at one point in time was, if you, even in online, if you order, let's say today, if you get after, let's say 4 days, that was okay for the customer. But now the thing is, the customer is expecting maybe even 10 minutes delivery. Now, how is it possible? A, automation, but is it viable or not viable? And B, through people-centric operation. Because having said and done, in India, the people are most viable operational asset in a warehouse or in a distribution center. And if they are going to fulfill an order, let's say next day or within 10 minutes, their safety, their ergonomic comfort is very, very important, because they are the kind of pillars of a very, very efficient operation. So, for example, there is something called in picking operation, there is something called golden zone of the operation. So anything above your waist or below your shoulder is called golden zone. So basically any load which is in this golden zone is a most comfortable load. So you are most comfortable walking in this zone. Any load that you have to retrieve above your shoulder or below your waist is uncomfortable. Below your waist, you have to bend down. Above your shoulder, you have to stretch up, which is not, you can say, safe way. So while designing the workstation, while designing the storage design, while designing the conveyor system, all these aspects must be taken. And nowadays, a lot of OEMs are there, Godrej and all those, and suppliers who are taking care of it in their design principle as well as their implementation as well. So, for example, adjustable workstation. So, for example, in B2C operation, the packing is the most critical element now, which normally cannot be automated because it requires a lot of work in terms of wrapping, bundling, and all those things. So, in e-commerce, the packing table is sacrosanct, where most of the people operate and their productivity is important. So, adjustable packing table, placement of the, you can say, packing material, pouches, everything close by, the comfort pads, all those things are important. Second is design in the building. For example, in Bhiwandi, if you go, although outside temperature would be 35 degree, but if you go to the top of the shelving rack and close to the roof, ceiling, the temperature goes up to 50 degrees also. So how we can ensure a kind of temperature, insulated roofing, and also ensure that they don't have to frequently visit the top floor of the shelving. Why don't we keep, let's say, non-moving or very slow-moving products there, or let's say excess product for replenishment, and restrict their movement only to the ground floor. So there are very small things if we take care of in terms of their hygiene needs, in terms of their workstation, in terms of their location of operation, reduce their travel time. All these things can be plugged into design with the help of good WMS, infrastructure, table design, etc. And that will bring a lot of efficiency. And both are very mutually kind of complement to each other, because the moment you take care of their ergonomics, their productivity also goes up. So because in India the demography is such, there are two different genders will have different average heights. Similarly, women will have a lower average height, men will have a higher average height. If you go to Haryana and all, the pickers could be of the 6 feet also. While if you go to eastern side of India, like Kolkata and all, the average picker height would be 5.4, 5.5. So with the demography, with the kind of gender, the overall design elements changes. So, but you have to make it flexible. So there are a lot of adjustable tables, kind of gravity flow racks, conveyors, insulated systems. All these things takes care of the ergonomic part in the warehouse.
So anyone, any other point would like to add?
Just like to add
Ashuji?
just to add to whatever Vikas said, just some experiences during my tenure. So when we talk of the, D2C, the pickers, the labor picking up goods for supplies, so it's often seen that warehouses are zoned. You have zone-wise storage of goods. So you may have FMCG at one side, then you have staples, or so within FMCG you may have, maybe skincare and then hair care, etc. But actually, this is not very convenient to the worker. So what we had done at one of our warehouses, that the picking route was as per your fast-moving products. So whatever the products which were ordered most frequently, they were first in your route, and then so on. So the labor had to travel the shortest route to pick up the goods and then come back to the staging bay. So this adds to their comfort and ergonomy in the warehouse.
So on this particular topic only, Hiteshji, what do you see in on agronomic buzzword? Do you see, I'm just asking a very general question, do you see this is just a boardroom question or discussion? Do you really see in ground reality, a lot of companies are implementing it? What is your thought?
At present scenario, ergonomics is a not a fancy thing, it's a must to do. In present business scenario and the work culture, we are leading in the 2025 and onwards. So we have to adhere ergonomics to get the productivity, to get the cost efficient in the warehousing structure. It is a must to do.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, just to add to it, because I have been representing various industry, and one thing came to my mind that when we talk about this ergonomics, I think electronics industries, electronic manufacturing services or telecom manufacturing services, there are a lot of requirement from there is not only the temperature control, but also the stores where HMP is like highly marketable products. Then you have products which are to keep it a certain sensitivity of material, saying that if you are making a product which has SKUs of around close to 6,000 and the multiple product cycle is required on a shift basis, then you need to process your all kitting, process your storage, process your complete pickup based on the requirement of the first in, first out basis, or maybe on the basis of really required in the which floor, which side of operations, because the operations also depends upon industry to industry. Naming in the electronic industry, they have a sequence like one sequence line itself will be around 6,000 square feet to 10,000 square feet of straight line, and then how you fulfill the requirement of line for productivity, because that makes a lot of a call to be made within warehouses to have these schemes of operation ease. Otherwise, you will be juggling around with the warehouses to have the kit in time, and then you will be ending up with a lot of manpower adding it up. Absolutely. So that is where I think ergonomy has to be looked into a different aspect out of it. Yeah.
Thank you. So moving to the next topic, what are the area of safety training do you think could be improved? This is one question. And secondly, are there any safety concerns you feel that are not in address in current training session? So Ajay to you.
I think when it comes to training, I think we do a lot of generic trainings. I think every warehouses or every organization, whether it is a manufacturing or maybe service industry, we do certain type of training which is just to fulfill the requirement of ISO certification, just basic necessity out of it, or maybe any statutory requirement to complete the nascent of the training. Actually, if you see the training aspect, it's a very wide range of subject to be addressed in the warehouses. I think the catastrophic or accident what we see very regularly, what we do is we just copy and paste type of warehouses across the industry. Your steel industry, heavy industry require a different type of racking system than your pharmaceutical and electronics. What we do, we go with the consultant, we go with the people expert, and we do just copy and paste. So there are certain parameters which I wanted to cover the three part, which will be like what will be the proactive hazardous identifications of the way of training. Second part will be like how you can do the risk assessment of all the training requirement. And third part will be like how a comprehensive training has to be there to cover all the aspect of the risk assessment, right? So first, basically, when we start with the activity of proactive hazard identification, then every industry or warehouses, wherever it is, small to big warehouses, we need to see that what type of hazards really it is being there. I think with the practicality of the people who are working in the shop floor, in the warehouses, I think they are the best people who gives the training need feedbacks, I think. That is the missing point what I have seen in the various industry of my whole career, that we don't take a feedback from the people who are working at the ground floor, that what type of really training they need, because they are seeing day in, day out of the, not only handling of the equipment, handling of the complete material, but they also see it, the type of things which has already been imparted to them, are really it is getting addressed. So various industry, I think when I talk about the chemical or pharma industry, I think there are various straightforward trainings, mapping is required, so that people can be acquainted with the training of how to do their PPEs, that, how to handle the forklifts, how to handle the any moving equipments in the warehouses. I think warehouse is a place where I think the moving equipments are larger than the what I can see is in the operation facility. And that is where we neglect most of the time, because we focus more on the operational or manufacturing setup. We tend to forget the facility available in the warehouses. I think whether it is in-house or out or in the external warehouses. That part. And then the second part is the risk assessment. How it really drill down the risk assessed within the premises, within the warehouses. I think that is where the team or people who are operating it, they have to analyze it very diligently, the risk, adhere to the situations. And are we really addressing this risk with the training, imparting the training, whether it is like a handling of any moving equipment. If you have a like system which is operating for the ASRS, going to more than 8 to 9 meters of forklifts or IL, which are being handled by these equipments, are we really people being trained, people are being licensed enough to operate this area? Those question mark has to be there, and it has to be frequently audited, not only on the basis of just to fulfill the ISO certification norms, but also considering the full risk. I think many of us sitting over here are seeing a lot of videos of warehouses, catastrophic accidents. I think that itself giving us a trigger that really are we focusing on the real part of how we are managing. I think one part of training to the people is the working environment what we have created within the system. Many times what happens that we tend to increase the working hours of the people without seeing it, whether the person available there are really hectic for them to utilize the additional hours of working or not. Because many of the accidents happen because of the small negligence of people get caught slip in while driving the forklifts or doing any of the norms standards over there. So are we really focusing on that? So these are the things I think there which has to trigger for a training program. For a question that what are the trainings we are really missing is basically we go for a high level of training, but we tend to forget the basic trainings, like how to manage our housekeeping, how to manage people around, how they tend to do all this ergonomics, what he spoken about, the places of movement, whether it is like a lockout or tag out or maybe pick up, fulfillment, all this thing has to be addressed at the basic level. That is where I think we are missing a point a lot now.
Thank you. So these are the area of concern. Ashuji would like to add some point.
Just like to add on to it, that what I have seen in warehouses, that most of the modern warehouses, the signages across the warehouse are generally in English. Whereas I think, as we all know, that majority of our workforce at the warehouses is not very familiar with English. So what is needed is the signages across the warehouse or various SOPs that are pasted in the warehouse, the walls. They should be in local languages or in Hindi or a language which is understandable by the workforce. Secondly, apart from the written instructions, it's always better to have instructions in visual pics. So any guidelines, whether it is fire safety or other kind of safety protocols or how to use fire extinguishers, very simple things. But all of this training should be more in pictorial format, which is easy for any worker to understand and implement. I think that's very important.
Regis would like to add.
I would like to add that safety nowadays is everyone's job, not a department job. So I just want to share a process what normally we used to do in the industry, a morning meeting. A morning meeting, we used to do a call, it's a KYT, it's a Kiken training. It is a Japanese term. So what we do in the Kiken training, the meaning of the Kiken is the hazard finding, by hazard risk. So we gather in the department-wise. That is when we are working in a warehouse, there is a inbound department, outbound department, inventory departments, sorting department, packing department. So we gather in a department-wise. Before starting of the operation, what we do, we used to share our experience. So what are the hazards we faced yesterday that can potential a risk, that can potential safety hazards? So that we used to share, and everyone on the team take experience on that, and they see how they can avoid it. They get experience, they get to know it, and based on that, we can able to. These are small things. This does not require any huge investment or something cost of anything. This is a experience sharing things. So this kind of things we do for the improvement of the safety awareness, because and apart from that, in this progressive period, so there are the wearables, IoT-based wearables, and the AI-based cameras are there to enhance the safety, and also augment AR and the VR-based training programs are there when there is a high-risk task is involved. So before engaging a people, if we go through a VR and step-by-step training, so it will prone the measure of the safety concerns. So these kind of things we should think of it, and until and unless we are taking the safety in our blood, so that is the most important. Apart from that, taking it as Mr. Ajay Singh has said that safety is not a compliance to get the ISO certificate. It has to be in part of our blood. It has to be our daily requirement, daily necessity. So that's.
Thank you. Because you would like to add.
Yeah. So from safety, there are three aspects. One is people, process, and second aspect is the property or the design, and third aspect is the product that you keep. So from property and the design, while designing a warehouse itself, if we consider all the elements of safety, whether it's a fire safety, whether the building itself is fire compliant, fire NOC is there or not, some fire hydrant systems is available or not, whether there are emergency exits, enough number of emergency exits available or not. So once we select basis that, then we design the warehouse. From design perspective, whether man, material, movement, man, machine and material movement, whether they are conflicting with each other or not. Because if machine and man and material movement is happening at the same time, are we providing enough aisle space for allowing to it? For example, we build a narrow aisle, but we go for, let's say, 2 pallet movement. It becomes very unsafe environment. While designing itself, we also design that which kind of racking system we design, whether it's a kind of safe, because a lot of time, I have seen in India, people design a racking system with, let's say, 7 feet or more than 6 feet high. Now, if the product is there at the top level of the shelving, to retrieve it itself is very unsafe. And if the product are such, which are kind of heavy and something, it's really unsafe. So at a design level, one, it has to pass through all the checklist of the safety. Second is the behavioral part of it and the training part of it. The people, their kind of the kind of safety shoes, reflector jackets, helmets. If they are walking in an area, let's say high pallet racks, where let's say, like in case of, for example, in Tata Motors, there is a spares warehouse, and all the heavy metal spares are kept in the pallet area. If you visit that pallet area without helmet, it becomes very risky, because if any of the material falls on you, it can cause death. So there are few elements of the product, elements of the training, elements of the design. When it comes together, then we build a kind of safe warehouse. And a lot of time, it's a kind of cultural thing. It's a kind of behavioral thing. And there are a lot of technologies also nowadays, like AI-based cameras, which warn some kind of, if somebody is entering unsafe zone without kind of helmet or something, that AI camera can detect it, and it can give you a warning. So maybe the supervisor can take corrective action. So all those, second is preventive maintenance of the equipments operating in the warehouse, which is very, very important, because the equipment breakdown during working hours or during kind of operating hours is always risky. For example, a reach truck, if it breaks down while handling the load and something falls down and it God forbid, if somebody is there, then it can hurt them. So these are few things. There are a lot of things, 5S, preventive maintenance, training, using technology like AI, IoTs, etc., which can help to make a very safe warehouse. And safe warehouse are always productive warehouse also. And if you see the KPIs of a warehouse where zero, you can say, safety issues are reported, they are the best warehouses also in terms of the dashboard performance.
So I think here the conclusion is cultural and behavioral changes is required. I think what we did in the road safety area, if there are fines imposed, so I give example, I was in Coke Atlanta 10, 15 years back. So there I was not on the pathway. So while exit, they gave me a warning, and they said, next time, if this is not followed, you are going to ban here. So there are systems. So again, I think for cultural behavior, it's required. Some sort of people who are going regularly, if they get a warning sign or so this is going to change. So on the third point, on the improving working condition, how are the organized leveraging technology not just for operation, but to proactively enhance worker safety to reduce hazards? So Ashuji will take this question.
I think Vikas and even Hitesh, we've already covered a lot of tech available options to enhance the working conditions and the safety. See, I think every modern warehouse is unable to implement tech-based solutions, which are very expensive. And frankly speaking, I think if we look at most of the godowns, as we call it, around us, I don't think we are able to actually, afford tech. For example, if we look at, we talk about anti-fatigue mats, or we talk about specific comfortable footwear, or we talk of wearables, or we talk of adjustable, workstations. So these are all are good, but a regular warehouse is unable to afford all of this. So what do we do in simple terms to improve the working conditions? And I believe very strongly that a first, foremost important thing in improving the working conditions is hygiene. And when I talk of hygiene, I refer to having proper washrooms. So as a woman, I have been going to warehouses, I think from 1988, 89, when it was unheard of a woman to be visiting warehouses. And I've had a very, very difficult time to just relieve myself with the full day because either the warehouse doesn't have a washroom inside, because men, anyways, they can go anywhere, or the washroom available is in such a dirty condition that a woman, cannot use it. And my own experience, in one of my pharmaceutical experiences, we opened up a large warehouse at Nagpur, and a very big warehouse, logistics park. And that particular logistics park had, I think in those days, around 10 lakh square feet of warehouses for at least maybe 100 clients across industries, FMCG, paints, pharma, and a lot of, I think any possible industry. But when it came to washrooms, the washrooms were not inside the warehouse, and the washrooms were in one corner of the entire logistics park. So, of course, there were separate warehouses, separate washrooms for men and women. But to go to the washroom, you have to come out of the warehouse, and for women, take the key, and then go to the washroom. So it was an activity by itself. To spend 15 minutes and not very convenient. So when we took up a warehouse in that logistics park, and since I was going to be visiting it very frequently, the first condition that I insisted upon was that we have a washroom inside the warehouse. And being a woman, it was essential, of course. But even for the warehouse staff, it is definitely essential to have washroom inside, separately for women and for men. So hygiene is one very critical thing. Then important is the ventilation. I have seen people are expected, the labor is expected to work in warehouses without even a basic fan. And when you look at Indian climatic conditions, and in certain states where the summers are extremely hot and humid, you have labor working even without a basic fan. So it's very critical to install, if not possible, ceiling fans, that you have, floor tower fans installed across the warehouse, have possibly windows if possible to provide ventilation. Then another important factor is canteens. So either if you have workers bringing food from home, have an identifiable place where they can go and eat the food. So it also prevents littering the work area. And if you can provide them the food, it also helps the workers from not having to carry food from home. Apart from that, health. Health contributes largely and greatly to worker productivity. So having annual health checkups for the labor, for the working staff. Apart from the annual health checkups, you can have regular checks at the warehouses, for example, checking the ECG, holding camps for women like, say, mammography or bone density, a similar kind of health checkups, or conducting talks for the workers on mental health. That's very important in today's scenario, or how not to be, on abusing like alcohol or substance abuse, drugs abuse. It's important to teach your workers about this. I think a whole lot of this contributes to the working conditions. Yeah.
Very valuable inputs, Ashuji. Anyone would like to add anything on this particular? I think she has covered. Or Hitesh, you would like to add anything?
For the improved working conditions in our present scenario, that as Asuji has said, that temperature has a major role. And in the warehouse, we are working to get the most of the productivity and most of the utility, and so we are using the at least 15 meter and 16 meter of warehouse, where the 12 meter and 30 meter racks are there. So just imagine that there's a G+3, G+4, G+5 storage are there, and when the people goes at the top level, so the temperature rises approximately normal 8 to 9 degrees higher than the what is the outside temperature is. So if we really thinking about the productivity to get out of it, to improve, to improvise, so obviously we must think about the temperature, how to control. So there are the many technology that we can use as a roofing, ceiling, and the ventilation system that we need to think of it. Apart from that, there is a motivational gatherings and monthly meetings and within the teams and within the groups of the people, that is the best speaker, best worker, so that gives them the motivation. This also brings them the energy for the better performance and better effectiveness. So this also comes a major play in the improved working condition.
One more thing is that having shift timings, the number of hours in the shift should be such that it is convenient and highly productive. So having shifts of say maybe 12 hours, which are not very comfortable. So limiting the shift to maybe 8 to 10 hours, where the human beings, normal men or women, can actually give their best. I think that is also very important.
Right. We should foster the culture of open feedback and respect between the staff and management also should be there. There should be a two-way communication also that can also improve. So my question to Vikas ji is, what are the initiatives one should adopt via technology for worker safety?
Sure. So there are a lot of things that can be done. I'll start with a very basic thing called WMS and process design. For example, there is a system called slotting system. So normally 60% of a warehouse resource in the range, depending on the type of operation it is into the fulfillment or order processing. Now, if the products are placed at a location which is unsafe to handle, and they have a huge, tremendous pressure of picking those products at a very given frame of time, so it becomes very difficult for them and it is very unsafe for them. So we can utilize some of the advanced features which is there in most of the WMS to slot the product in the golden zone of the racking system, so that they handle the product above their waist height, below their shoulder, or for example in a pallet rack, keep those products on the ground location so that they don't have to handle it from the reserve location. So these are basic things at a WMS level also we can do. Second is nowadays there are a lot of RFID based, or you can say IoT based devices. As a wearables, we can give it to workers and we can control them through our control tower, wherein let's say if there are more than a certain number of workers operating in some area, then again it becomes unsafe because there are a lot of material movements, there could be MHEs in that area and people in that area. So we can control that also. There are a lot of alarm system, camera-based AI devices which alarm if somebody is not wearing, let's say, helmet and handling the MHE, or if somebody is walking in a pallet aisle without helmet. So these are few things within, and there are very basic things as Ashu ma'am has also just now said, some hygiene factors. For example, there are a lot of workers during the peak hours, especially in a e-com operation, during, let's say, P0 sale, we used to call it in beauty earlier. So during that time, you have around 40% more workers coming to the warehouse. Now, most of those workers used to be recruited from the area which was around 40 or 30 kilometers away from the warehouse. Now, if you don't arrange a simple bus service for those workers, then they used to come on their bike, and it was again unsafe because they have to come punch in at a given point in time. If it is, let's say, 7 o'clock shift, then they have to report there by, let's say, 6:30, do the frisking, and then come inside. If they get late or there is some traffic jam, so we used to have a kind of bus service for those workers so that they come comfortably, they don't rush on the road also. So not only within the warehouse, but also the safety also takes care outside the warehouse, on the road, etc. And there are a lot of like HST based also. While designing the HST, we also think about how many scans a particular person is required to do or how many entries he has to do. So if you design a process in such a way, if you put a barcodes, etc. on the product in such a way that with a minimum scan, you can pick the product, then it will avoid a lot of fatigue at a worker level. Same thing goes at a packing station, how you can utilize some of the equipments which is safe. Means there are a lot of cutters which is unsafe, like they have to cut a lot of, let's say, hex papers or the bubble wraps, etc., using knife, which is very unsafe, and I have seen in my life. So we used to have a kind of safe cutters also to them. So there are very basic thing. Similarly, a very basic, if like in case of e-com operation, especially on the packing table, a lot of women packers work, and for them having a proper toilets or proper there is if you go to Bhiwandi and all, very rarely you will find there is a kind of sick room in the warehouse, where medical room you can say, where if somebody is feeling fatigued or somebody is having some problem, they can go and rest. So creating those kind of medical rooms, because people think it's a waste of a lot of time, is that kind of impression creates a waste, but a lot of time that brings a lot of hygiene factor and safe factors. So technology wise, we are already there. Means there are a lot of things. Similarly, nowadays a lot of doing cycle count from the reserved location is very unsafe, because pickers using the harness, although they go use the reach truck and the cage and go on the top and they count. So nowadays people are also using drones to do the counting. So drones have that intelligent cameras and
inventory checks.
Yeah, so for the inventory checks, there will be some label pasted on the product, and then through their camera they can scan it, and in India it has been implemented. Third is, of course, basically there are a lot of systems like goods to person, because 60 to 70% of the material movement walking is done by the pickers basically inside the warehouse. And if it is not goods to person system, then he has to walk around 70% of the time, and only 15 to 20% of the time he is doing actual picking. So to avoid that, for all the fast moving item, we have a lot of carton shuttles and systems like when I used to work in Reliance, there was an adverb system which was a goods to person system. So person does not have to walk around all across the aisles and trolleys, etc. And those shutters used to bring the goods to the person, and he used to pick it and then pack it. So GTPs are a very good system nowadays. It is becoming more popular, especially in kind of B2C environment. Then trolley designs, a lot of time, because if you see, if the trolley is not well designed, or if the handle of the trolley is not adjustable, there are a lot of tall pickers, short pickers, women pickers, they are not able to actually push it properly. So there are a lot of adjustable handle trolleys that come nowadays. So very basic things. If we once I was working with one of the SMEs from Tesco, Thailand. He used to tell me that if you have to really think about the safety, you just have to observe the pickers what they are doing. And you will find the answers. Technology is completely available if you have that intent in mind that how we can make their job safer. Then there are a lot of ways to do that. Trolley design, rack design, table design, wearables, IoTs, drones. A lot of things are now available to make their lives easier.
So basically technology is available, only behavioral change is also required. That is the must needed, because these are the most common things, but I think sometimes, adoption, it always has an issue. So what are the important initiatives in skill development training? What are the special initiatives we can take on skill development and training?
See, there are various factors. I think he talked a lot about automation. I think training, if you see logically, if you consider in the warehouse automation system, I think that is a primitive thing is coming nowadays. You cannot go away with warehouses duly automated. Why it is being an aspect of ours? Because as you see, getting people around in the warehouses itself is a difficult part nowadays, because operationally is very key factor within the organization, whether it is like in-house operation in the manufacturing facility, or you are outside working with the e-commerce, or any warehouse is being managed. I think automating the thing, complete process is how it is. Same process goes like a people, process, and technology, right? What the three factor goes it. So you need people, and people has to operate on the process mapping, SOPs, and then the technology. If I'll start from the activity of the warehousing automation or training part of it, then it is like an interdepartmental thing where it need a focus of the people to address. Like if you see arriving of the goods into the warehouses, you need a support from various factors internally, like a procurement department, whether you have all the documentation in process of receiving the goods or not. Otherwise, most of the time what we see, the goods comes into your factory reporting and there is no visibility of documentation, no visibility of procurement from where it has come, because a large organization always we see there's no communication. Communication is a big barrier in any of these processes. So you need to have this technological aspect, as he touched based about the WMS warehouse management system, wherein you have training being imparted to the people to operate in a way that every aspect of getting material being accounted. And one step ahead of it, I think the way now various companies are working on, you have an interlinked vendor portals where you have now visibility of what supplies to come into your plant, so that you can plan your unloading pattern considering your time factors. Otherwise, multiple vehicles being reported in your gate, and you are just seeing it when to unload it, and this gives a very wrong signal to the transport or logistics company that once if you are delaying every time hours together on your gate, so second time they will see why to go to this company, just wait, and they will go to the evening part, because they operate from after 12 o'clock or after 1 o'clock till 4 o'clock. So they are not operating in morning time. So these are the aspects I think we need to address in the mindset of the people working across, and they need support. I think it is not like only addressing to the warehouse training part of it. It is a whole ecosystem has to be trained because it's a very perennial part of the complete supply chain management, this warehouse system. And I think inside the system, the lot of activity has come up now, considering that AI tools and all the robotics has been, he has also touched base. Many of the support thing like on the go, monitoring your inventory control systems, how to take this inventory cycle count, how to reach to the place where ergonomically it is difficult to go to the place and do the cycle counting. The second part is important when you talk about internal movement of goods from department to department. I think there also you need to start looking into that aspect of how the e-commerce industry is working. That we have, in my recent current company, we are trying it. We are not 100% there, trying it to do the movement of goods from the stores to the department on the basis of like 10 minutes, 30 minutes or 4 hour, 1 hour cycle. We are trying to go at that. We are not there. I think lot way to work on that. But that gives an address to the complete people aspect of it, their own KPIs, their own delivery terms. And these are the aspects I think he was also talking about everyday morning ritual of people communication. I think everyday morning communication culture with the KPI standard points, communicating to the hazardous part of it, how to handle it. So there are every day it is mutual norms to address those aspects of training. I think that can be advanced to the level where I think every individuals can be looked into very diligently of handling whether it is a general goods or it is a hazardous goods or maybe any peculiarity like any goods which are very costly in nature. Like in my own company now we handle a lot of very precious metal that is very, they are very costly. So how to protect those items, how to see that the things are being kept as sacrosanct that okay it is not being misused as a complete process.
Hitesh would like to add?
Yeah, definitely. Today, as warehouse evolved in a more smarter and faster and technology-driven space, so the competitive advantage it's not only the automation, it's the people behind it. So training, skill development of the people is not an one-time process in a warehouse. This is a culture. This is a mindset. So it has to be continuous. So when a warehouse has a skilled, advanced, and tech-enabled peoples within it, the warehouse is not only the productive, the cost-effective. It is, we can say that it's unstoppable. So why it is required? So the question is the why it is required, the training why it is required. When we are going to the AI-based technology-driven, that technology, use it efficiently, use it proactively, that is required. So if the people are not trained, if the people are not skilled to use it effectively, so there is no meaning of this technology. We are talking about the handhelds, we are talking about the dashboards. So what is the message we are getting from the dashboards? What KPI parameters we are getting from it and where to act? That understanding is required. And second of all, how to measure it and what are the skills is required. So the digital efficiency, that in the digital efficiency you can say it, how to use the handhelds, how to use the AGVs, and how to use the other digital tools like scanners, IoT-based scanners, and this kind of things. And second of all, the skill set, communication skill, the critical thinking skill. This is also required in the training and for the development purpose. Safety and the compliance skill. Safety and the compliance skill is the most important because while we are working as an effective and productive warehouse, the use of forklift, the use of AGP is a very common thing. So what are the safety measures and how the checkpoints are being maintained and what are the things we need to look around. So that clarity at the ground with the working people is required to be very much clear. So overall, if we see the training for the people is such a thing that not only making your warehouse efficient proactively, it's also making the future ready, just not for only for the tax ready. Your people should not be only the tax ready; it should be the future ready. What is coming? they should estimate, and they should act accordingly. So there the requirement of the training is must.
Thank you. So I think make a training an ongoing process, not a one-time event. So this has to be, the culture has to infuse. Secondly, another point, pair new employees with, experienced staff for shadowing. That is also is required. So that is also can be done. So moving to another question on cultural consideration. In a diverse country like India, how we can design warehouses that one inclusive, whether for women, older workers, or those from a different background. So Ashuji, would you like to take this?
Yeah. So cultural considerations, this is something that is often overlooked in warehouse design and operations. But it is very critical for the worker productivity and your warehouse effective operations. So the first thing is possibly gender sensitivity. And as I've already spoken, that having a simple thing like having washrooms which are separate for men and women, I've already discussed about this. Second is having, sexual harassment policy, which is very well laid down, a redressal mechanism for that, because ultimately we are dealing with people from all kinds of areas. So, and, I think as of today, women constitute about 15% of the workforce in the warehouse, which is increased from 3% at one time. So when we look at this, it's important to have a harassment and a redressal policy, which is well laid out. Having a policy, for women who have, maybe there's a small crash facility, if you have a large women workforce, which is today common if you look at the e-commerce, where you have a lot of women in packing activities for D2C. So it is a must to have lots of women. So it's, I think, a good gesture to have a crash facility where women can bring in their small children and have them during the day, or allowing women maternity breaks, which are more over and above the compulsory government-given breaks. Then when we look at our religious diaspora, so it is a must to also take into account the different religious practices, which means a simple thing like maybe when you look at the festivals. So each one of the villages, we have different festivals. So having just limited holidays on festivals may not suffice. So if you have a workforce who are coming from different religious backgrounds, maybe it's a good idea to have 2 or 3 such holidays, where people can avail of for their religion. So maybe you can have some holidays which are restricted for Christmas or a Parsi New Year or an Eid, apart from the typical Holi, Diwali. So it's a must to do that. Maybe a small place, a small room where one can go and do your prayers, or a small resting place where one can go and consider this. Apart from this, it's also critical when I look at that. An important, very important factor is the hierarchy. So when we see, the current, most of the time, the supervisors, very often I've seen, they're very rude to the workers. So it's very important to build in a sense of respect and empathy across the warehouse. It's important that everyone respects the others, and this must of course come in through the training given, so to not only the labor, but also to the supervisors. Then when we look at the training by itself, so we've already discussed that the training should be such that it's more through the visual pics, color coding in the training. It is understood by the people from all walks of life, and not only in particular languages, which is understood by only certain people. I think all of these factors will go a long way in improving our gender sensitivity.
Vikasji, what is your view?
Yeah, so one of the key elements from cultural side is starting from the design of the shift. So for example, different part of the India, the sunrise time is different. So the shift timing should be specific to that particular area to begin with. Second is distribution of, let's say, women employees, associates, and male associates. So for example, from the safety perspective, normally, like in Bhiwandi, for example, if we have a warehouse, so normally we don't map women employees in the night shift from the safety perspective, and normally we keep them in the general shift. And third element is the distance from the warehouse. The operators, when they are staying, how far they are staying from the warehouse. So if they are staying to a very far location, normally we keep them in the night shift so that their travel time is minimized, because the traffic consideration, etc., is low in the night shift. Fourth is the proper mix of the people of different faiths also, because India is a country of festival, as you know, so there are so many festivals that if there is no good proportion of the people of all faith, then maybe during Diwali there will be heavy absenteeism. And so what we prefer is we keep people from different faiths, and also we also utilize people who are migrant. So normally what happens, associates, they normally migrate to that particular area and they operate and they live in the hostel. So those kind of people are very, very helpful during the local festival season, because during local festival season, most of the local people are absent. And the associates, they respect their religion and the festivals very much. So, and unfortunately, we have P0s and we have sales during that season. So to manage that, in order to do that, there should be a proper mix of resources to ensure their availability, and also to respect their faith and religion. And they should be given enough leaves and policies, etc. So these are few cultural related things that a lot of time comes into picture. And as Ashu ma'am rightly said, that the behavioral aspect of it, different cultural people expect different behavior. And the supervisors who are handling them must be aware. They should be the people person. They must be aware about their cultural aspect, and they must learn to do that. A lot of time, supervisor, they come from a different culture, and the people working under them, they come from a different culture, and they a lot of time they miss respecting that part, and there is a tussle, or the kind of team spirit get diluted. So a lot of time the supervisors must understand those cultural aspect and respect that on the floor. So these are few things that I, practically speaking, these are few things that I felt important.
Ashush, you would like to
Yeah,
add?
just to add on, I think we must all learn to be socially inclusive. So when I say that, one is of course equal opportunities for both men and women. So it's, if there's a task which can be performed by a woman as well as a male, we must give them the opportunities, of course keeping in mind the physical abilities. Apart from that, the third gender, we must also give suitable jobs to the third gender. So recently, the place where I work, they've hired them as, in the security guards, which is a very good initiative. And this is a must for the social progress. We must not forget that.
I think just to add on, I think with gender diversity, I think we need to see overall inclusiveness of all the section of people. I think in my current organization, I think people are being used, or the physically able people are being disabled. They are being we are as a pilot project, we are in almost last 1 year in operations we are using it. And I think warehouses and other places also we should be at least looking into consideration of the activity wherein they fit into it. Not like, okay, going into the physical activity, but wherever the activity where it is required, I think those people can be used. So that it will become a benchmark to the other employees, other people, to see that how they are working it. And always it has been seen that they are more than 100% deliverable than the normal what we do it. So I think those are the extra effort has to be taken, and consideration has to be there from all the things. I think empathy he was talking about, I think one of the very basic aspects in a warehouses, because the warehouses always we see people are talking very rough languages, always a male dominated areas. I think within the male domination itself, we need to see how respectful we are to the people of their work. I think that has to be there. I think that is the missing point still.
Absolutely. Hitesh, you would like to add any point on the concluding?
When we are just talking about the human-centric warehouse. So, in the human-centric warehouse, what is happened to do? Obviously, there is a gender diversity, workforce diversity. Also, we must think of the care diversity. The care diversity, what is it is? That is the care diversity is there is a warehouse picker who is working for 1 year or 2 years as a picker. So a program which empower them to be a picker manager, and then to empower them a promotion. The promotion normally at the white collar there is a promotion, but in the blue collar we don't think of it. So the workers is majorly 60% or 70% is the unskilled worker. So they started as the unskilled and they used to be in the unskilled category for 5 to 6 years. So what is the impact of that? Productivity impacts, retention level impacts. But if we do a program which can identify them, we promotion them from unskilled to a semi-skilled to the skilled level, supervisor, shift in charge. Today a forklift driver, tomorrow a shift supervisor. So this kind of initiative really improves our initiative on the human-centric warehouse and the productivity improvement.
Excellent. So I think we have covered all the topics. So we are just going to take 3-4 questions. So anyone would like to address a question, please? Mike, please. Anyone from?
Hi, can you hear me? Hello?
You can take this mic.
Hello. I don't know if that is the case in every industry, but the ones I have observed is it becomes cost first, not safety first as soon as it goes out to a third party logistics or whatever. But as long as it is internal, it is okay, safety, hygiene, we have to make sure there is a 50-50 and things like that. And how do we transition from a cost first warehouse to a safety first warehouse? And secondly, is that really sustainable? Because you know, the SOPs and everything, and I know there are lots of companies which audit warehouses, external warehouses and all that. That maybe happens once a year and suddenly all the safety shoes come on, all the jackets come on, and I'm sure everybody has observed that. So is this an industry problem? Is this a cultural problem? Is this an attitude problem? Because I feel like a lot of it is driven by the industries themselves, which do not focus so much on safety and hygiene and firefighting. That's where the class A, class B, class C warehouses come in. But when it is the industry warehouse, all the standards are upheld as per the MNCs. So anybody has any views on that?
So it depends on culture the company wants to set. So answering to your second question first, the cost first or the safety first. I say both go hand in hand. Means the most safe warehouse is normally the most cost effective warehouse as well. You need not spend a lot of money to make a warehouse very safe. And at the same time, if you make a warehouse safe, it will become very cost effective because of multiple reasons. A, the absenteeism and attrition will go down drastically. And you know that if the attrition is high, to bring a new associate and train them and then make them up to speed takes a lot of time and it's very cost ineffective. So if your warehouse is safe, there are very basic safety measures of fire safety, the behavioral training, the workstation design. Those things don't demand a lot of cost, and at the same time, They will ensure that your absenteeism, attrition, employee satisfaction, and third very important thing is the productivity of the employees also goes up. Because with all the accident or any kind of unforeseen event happening, normally it brings a lot of kind of unproductive culture also within the kind of setup. So these are the things, cost first, safety first, actually both are one and the same. So most safe warehouse is most cost effective warehouse. That's what I have seen and observed. Second part is, for example, you told about the safety culture. So it again depends, it is mainly driven by the principal organization. For example, if you go to any of the factory of Tata Steel or Tata Motors, I'm just giving an example, there are mainly such examples. So since I have worked in Tata Motors and I have also done project in Tata Steel, I can tell you, even a visitor are given safety briefing, and even a associate like 3PLs or anybody, means they have to pass through those safety trainings, and they are given the safety training, and for them, even walking on the stairs, you have to hold the rails and all those things. If you don't do that, people will come and tell you. So there are organizations, I have worked with DHL supply chain also, and in DHL, if you visit a warehouse, you cannot enter without safety shoe, you cannot enter without a safety jacket, you will be given a safety briefing. There are a lot of signages related to safety and all those things. So it's driven by the culture. There are, I know, there are few organizations that don't have that culture, or they don't follow that culture, and they think that it is costly to have that culture, but it is not. In a long run, if your employees, your associates, your business partner, if they are happy, then only your business will also grow. So I actually, I don't know from where your experience comes, but I believe that safety, cost, and cultural aspect goes hand in hand. Means they are not counterintuitive. They are complementing each other.
I think just to add on to that, whatever Vikas has said, there is a problem of attitude. There is. So I wouldn't deny whatever you've said, though I'm talking about from the manufacturing point of view. I'm talking about from the pharma industry, where you have your business partners across the country in different states. They run your warehouses. So while they are being compensated, sometimes the business partners do choose to cut corners, and they may not follow the SOPs or the protocols which are critical for a safe and effective warehouse. A lot of the principal organizations run the audits. So I think that does help, frequent unannounced surprise visits. So I think going ahead, I think it's reduced. But yes, to some extent, there's an attitude, that, okay, we can, if we are being compensated in X amount by the principal, so if we, cut corners, we can save. So that is some typical Indian style. But I think going ahead, because of people are understanding that if you keep your workforce happy, they'll be more productive, which is ultimately what you need.
I will share an experience just to light up on that. You have heard about the Compton Green. So I have visited a warehouse of the Compton Green that is managed by the 3PL. What was it? 3PL or the partners doesn't care of the safety and all. So while visiting the warehouse, they have a briefing of the 5 minutes of the safety videos. The area of the area and the safety points and the emergency evacuation plan, everything. Post of that, they have a 10 question of the quiz over a screen. So if you don't pass the 10 question, there's a 60% of the passing mark. You won't be allowed inside the warehouse. So that's a great feeling. This is the mindset we are changing. Obviously, this was not about 5 to 6 years ago. This was not. This is the mindset is changing. This is not only the plant level, because plant, they have to maintain a lot of compliances. So obviously, to run a plant operation, 80%, 90% thing you have to follow. Until and unless you cannot run the plant operation. But outside a warehouse, it is not mandatory as of now. But as the mindset is changing, and the ISO norms and the terms and the checklist and the audits are get stringent day by day and day by day. So things are improving towards the safety. We think that safety is a cost, but safety is not a cost. The more we follow the safety, the more stringent will be the safety, the more cost effective we will be. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah, hi. Hello, sir. Hello, everyone. My name is Aditya. So when we talk about warehouses, we talk about increasing storage capacities by the use of racks, right? Different types of racks. But when we talk about safety, we don't talk much about rack safety. And unlike in Western countries wherein there are protocols that are set with respect to rack safety, what needs to be done, what not needs to be done. So, but in India, we are trying to be there, but we are not yet there. So there are domino effects such as, for example, a 1 weak member can take down your whole operation. So in terms of rack safety and maintaining the structural health of racks. So why are we in India not able to react to that, and what are your thoughts on this matter?
Yeah, so rack safety start with the rack design. So basically, while designing the rack, the organization must do is to understand their product profile and their UDL, design load. So if let's say the product UDL is 5 ton per square feet, 500 kg or 300 kg per pallet or 500 kg per pallet, then the cross members and the upright, their capacity must be discussed and considered with some safety factor, because normally what happens at a practical level, even if you design for a particular height of the stacking height and UDL, the overall in a practical level somebody would like to breach that stacking height, or they may end up storing at a higher UDL. So you must consider a safety factor of, let's say, 15% or 20%, and then accordingly design. And then for that you have to work with the critical OEMs like, let's say, Neel Kamal or Godrej or whoever, and then design that properly. That is the first step of going for a rack safety. And once, let's say, uprights and cross members strength is properly selected, their operational basically processes must be in sync with that. If the operational processes are not designed for that, then that is another thing. Third thing is there are a lot of safety guidelines for installation of those racking system. For example, your floor strength must support your racking system. If your floor strength is not that, then the chances is the flatness will go down, or maybe it will not support, and it is not the fault of the rack's strength but fault of the floor. So your building design, your rack design, and the kind of MHE you select, the aisle width you select. For example, some of the MHE require 3.2 meter aisle width, while other require 2.7 meter aisle width. There are narrow aisle MHEs, for example, articulated forklifts. So it is an end-to-end design that one has to select, and the safety has to be ingrained in that design. And good companies, like world-class companies like 3PL, like DHL, etc., they do have a global kind of guidelines from the safety perspective. And if someone follows those guidelines, I think the chances of those dominoes effect, I fear listening to that also, but that will not be there. Because if your design is perfect and selection of property, basically the building is perfect, selection of OEM, you have to do the quality checks of the OEM, you may have to visit their factory and do the quality checks, do the load test. There are a lot of equipments to do the load test of cross member, uprights, etc. So I think those things must be taken care of at the design stage itself. It's not an operational kind of ball game much.
Yes, sir, I agree. Sorry, just one more follow-up question.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree to your point, sir, but The answer that you told, those are like during or before the installation of the racks. But during the lifetime of the racks also, there are bound to be incidents within the warehouses or within the facility due to MHEs. Or there might be n number of reasons due to overloading or many other reasons.
So for that, you need to do the training of the MHE operator properly. You have to select the right MHE. There are driving licenses needed for the MHE operator. So you have to work with MSPs, manpower service provider, and the 3PL to ensure that right MHE operator are selected. Means there are a lot of time they bring somebody who does not have that driving license. If somebody does not know how to drive an MHE and he is left in a kind of those things. So those kind of compliances and then briefing of those. And of course the workload. You need to know why you have to pick a lot from the reserve location or the up location. That location should be for reserve only, and you should be doing a replenishment to the ground and then picking from the ground. So if you are utilizing too much an MHE, and if MHE is operating too much, then you must look into your slotting design, your warehouse design, all those things again. So these are the few aspects. I think this is end to end. At an operational level, there are a lot of things, follow-up things, as you rightly said, is required to be done. But if things are taken care of at a recruitment stage, again, there is a recruitment of the MHE operator. If he is recruited, right MHE operator with the right driving license are recruited, the chances of incidents is very low.
I think just to add to your question, I think 2 pointer we need to consider always is working in an atmosphere of safe working load. That is mandatory. Always we have to adhere to that, because we missed up always that, okay, we are not working on a safe working load. And second is the structural audits. I think many of our 99% of the warehouses, I have not seen the structural audits are happening. Even in my own company, we are not able to get an auditor to do the audit of the structure of the this racking system. My manager is sitting over here. We are struggling since last 1 year to get the auditor to do the structural audit. So I think those two principles, I think we need to keep to have the safe place of working.
I had one experience where in one of my retail warehouses, one entire racking fell down. And I was at home. I was going out of Mumbai, and I got an urgent call to rush to the warehouse because one entire rack tilted and they fell down. So the reason, one was probably the installation was not completely correct, and second is a regular structural audit, whether it's rack or whether it's a warehouse, and third is the training of the manpower, the labor, as to, look at the signs. If any structure is partially moving or it's tilting, to give an indication in time. I think all of these factors would go a long way in preventing such incidents.